Next, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. She has over 30 years of leadership, development, training experience, and public speaking. She has flourished in public, private, and higher education, succeeded in corporate America, and thrived in a nonprofit space, all while staying intimately involved in agriculture in a variety of roles. Cheryl Mitchell is a dairy farmer's daughter from Jasper County. Her Farm Bureau history is deep, starting with her great-grandpa, Bierman, who was instrumental in starting Jasper County Farm Bureau. Her grandpa Bierman was a member for over 50 years, and her mom and dad have just celebrated 60 years this year as Farm Bureau members. While all these things drive Cheryl, her greatest joy will always be a single mom raising her two sons.
Being a Farm Bureau member goes back years in my family. It's important to me because it's a grassroots organization that has a mission for our members, and they advocate for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Cheryl Mitchell as our keynote speaker. Cheryl?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning, Farm Bureau. I mean, truly, good morning. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with you this morning. As a member of this organization, as you heard in the introduction, to be part of this tradition that's over 100 years deep, that's rooted in pride and trust, and at its very mission, our voice to be heard, to be unified. It is a celebration. We're here. We are here. Think about that. How long has it been since we've been together? So it is a celebration, and I'm honored to be here. Now, before I get started, I need to make some clarifications. So if you were here last night, well, let me back up. So President Giebert, Zippy Duvall, and I did not collaborate. We did not speak to one another about our remarks. They stole my stuff. Okay? So if you were here, if you were not here last night, then this is all going to be new. Good for you. Take some notes. If you were here and still this is new, you apparently did not pay attention. And if you were here and you hear some things over and over again, President Giebert last night and I in the reception decided that some of you need to hear the message more than once. So the repetitive nature of this is going to be good. Okay? I believe that life is better with laughter and music. So I'm going to invite you to watch a video on the screen, and I want to set this up for you. I came across this video in 2020, that year. And I've watched it dozens and dozens of times, and every time it lifts my spirits. So it is a church choir with children singing, and you're going to want to keep your eyes on the little girl in pink, and there's a little boy in blue that you're going to want to watch. And I'm going to let you decide what's going on behind the scenes that you can't see, and some of the nonverbals that are being said while the music is playing. And I also want to challenge you, yes, you may get up and dance if you would so choose, or you can move in your seat just a little bit. So I invite you to watch.
There's revival in the spreading like a wildfire in my heart. Sunday morning, hallelujah, and it's lasting all week long. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? It's the real gospel song.
So when's the last time you felt that joyful? Truly coming out of your skin. Can you imagine her parents in the audience? Now the little boy is a little bit like, I don't know, and then she was supposed to behave, right? Now I'm not wearing pink, but I will tell you that is how giddy and excited I am to be here with you today. I do believe that we have that much for which to be joyful and grateful, coming out of our skin happy. So, are you a seed or are you a weed? Are you the little girl in pink or are you the little boy in blue when it comes to the future and thinking about this organization? Let's be honest. This place of tradition and transition is beautiful and brutal. So my Farm Bureau roots, as you heard, go back to my great-grandpa Bierman, who was instrumental in forming the Jasper County Farm Bureau. And when I think about that, I almost can't fathom the history of that, instrumental in forming a county farm bureau. In August of 2020, I was in California and I saw the sequoias. And I don't know if you've ever seen them, but I had not. It was my first experience. And I'm standing there and I'm, okay, it's a tree. It means a tree. And there was this moment where I literally realized my brain hurt because I could not comprehend the enormity of it. The girth of the trunk and the tree limbs and the roots. I mean, I'm shaking my head going, I cannot wrap my brain around that. Y'all, that's this organization. That's us. That's you as members. We've traveled to be here. Think about that. We all traveled to be here this weekend. And in the time since we've been together last, there have been pains and joys and celebration and heartache that only you know at your core. This weekend, though, we are here as part of an organization that at its very name elicits pride. a pride like no other. It also signifies trust. They trust us. It always has the unified voice of the farmer at its core mission. And this weekend, we are here with one common goal. We are all members of the Illinois Farm Bureau. That is a big, big deal. So, I have thought, how great would it be to talk to my great-grandpa Bierman and ask him, how did it go when you formed that county farm bureau? Were there any dissension? Was there anybody who really didn't buy into the long-term vision? I'm certain there were no people with an ego that was bigger than them when they walked in the room. Ooh, there was a little maybe close to home there. And I'm certain there was no one who thought their opinion was fact, like me. I'm certain that everybody just bought right in and said, yes, let's do it. And they believed in the generations who were going to come and that they weren't going to mess it up, right? I'm sure it was that simple. And idealistically, I want to believe that because I want to be hopeful. But in the end, everything is great till you bring in the people. And then they mess it up every time because we're human beings, right? We're human. So I mentioned to you that this tradition and transition, seeds and weeds, beautiful and brutal. It's beautiful because we are an organization of membership. It's not like the gym where if you don't show up, nobody asks you about it, right? They care if you're here. That's beautiful, this cooperative, it's unique and special. It's also beautiful because we did not have to experience the pain that they did to get here. It's also beautiful to think about the seeds that have been planted that have grown far beyond what I'm sure the Founding Fathers ever thought it could be. It's beautiful. It's also brutal. And it's brutal because it's change. And I know for me, it goes really fast. And I want to say, wait a second, why can't it just be the way it used to be? And it's brutal because now we are experiencing the pain to get there. And the issues are different and all the division. So there's brutal to that. It's brutal because I just want it to be the way it used to be. And it goes quickly. The other thing is, why aren't they listening to my opinion, which I have been told is fact? We can discuss that later. So you heard in the introduction that as a single mom, I raised 2 boys. And I'm here to tell you they are still alive and well. Because we did have some brutal days, which I'm going to share with you. I have one who is a fireman in Lexington, Kentucky, and I have one who is a police officer in Grand Junction, Colorado. And I love them. I even like them most days. But there were some brutal days as a single mom. And there were some days that I thought, I don't know if I can keep doing this. So on those days, I developed a technique, and my technique was to go into their bedrooms at night when they were sound asleep and not moving. And I stood in the door. There are some moms laughing in the back. Yes, Jesus. So I'd stand in the doorway, and I would look at them, and I would think, oh, they are beautiful. I can get up tomorrow morning, and I will not hurt them. And I will also not put them on the street with a free sign to see if someone would just take them, please. So I think it's important to take a pause and stand in the doorway and look back briefly. Because here's what I know about transitions. We're not supposed to do this alone. We're not supposed to know how to transition. It sort of just happens and you go, I'm supposed to do that. No one told me that when you go to college, so I came from the dairy farm to college, no one informed me that people went out on a school night
to drink on a Wednesday or a Thursday. That's a school night. No one taught me that. No one taught me really, how to be married. Like, how do you do that? And then the kids come along, and here's the thing. You go to the hospital, you do all the preparation, right? And they're more worried about the car seat they put in the back of the back seat than they are this thing they send home with you, and they go, well, good luck to you. I remember saying to someone, are you sure? Like, they're not going to pull me over that I took something that's not mine? Now, thank goodness my mom came. She came for a week, and she told me later that at the end of the week, as she held Doug, my oldest, and at 4 in the morning as she took a plane back home, she whispered in his ear and said, she has no idea what she's doing. Just be patient with her. So no one also then teaches you or transitions you. You've loved them and you've done all these things, and then they leave home. Nobody really helps you with that. But because we're not meant to do transitions alone, you have those people who walk in front of you who've done it before you. And you have those who are coming behind that you're going to lead through. And thank goodness we have them, because those are the people that hold our hand and walk alongside us, or drag us, or nudge us, or let's be honest, pull our ass out of the ditch when we run it off because our opinion gets in the way. So this transition it's important to come together to do that. And now, just like I stood in the doorway of my son's bedrooms and reflected on the beautiful part of that, I want to do that with you for just a couple of minutes. It's important to think about this membership and our successes. And this is where Rich stole my stuff yesterday, so this is going to be a repeat. But I'm going to read this to you because I want to be accurate. I want you to think, as I'm reading these 5 successes, I want you to think about what it took for this to happen. Number 1, because of the work of Illinois Farm Bureau and you, members at a grassroots level, 2 major campaigns have been defeated: the gross receipts tax and the most recent progressive tax initiative. That was not small. Number 2, the passage and implementation of state tax policy that allows members to benefit from sales tax exemption and on ag inputs and farm machinery. 3, Illinois Farm Bureau was involved with the livestock commodity organizations to create the Livestock Management Facilities Act. And number 4, if I'm allowed to have a favorite, is the Adopt a Legislator program. So that started in 2001, and to date, 73, I believe that's the number, legislatures have been adopted, and almost everyone from Cook County has joined. Why does that matter? It's about relationships. I remember going to my brother's college, one of my brother's college graduations, and I was having this kind of off conversation about, where's your milk come from? And I'm saying, the cow. And they say, the store. And what? They really did not know. They did not connect. And in my head, I thought, how can you not know that? And they're thinking, how can you not live in the city and know how to get on the Metro or the whatever train that's out there? I wrote it last night, but a friend helped me, so thank you. So this Adopt a Legislator program is critical because it helps them see what they don't know. It's not that they're ignorant, they just don't know what they don't know. We had legislators come to our farm, and I remember Mom and Dad hosting them, and I could see their eyes get really big, and there's this world. I taught in Des Plaines and for a few years, and I had some friends that came down with me, and we'd get out of the city, and they'd say, wow, there's a lot of corn. Really? You've been to Sweden and Norway and traveled the world, but you have not been to Southern Illinois in your own state. So this Adopt a Legislator program is critical for the relationship building, because at the end of the day, folks, it's about relationship and trust. If I don't trust you, I'm not going to want to walk on either side of that aisle. So they've worked very hard. And which brings me to number 5, COVID. I cannot imagine the number of hours that were spent on the phone and in Zoom meetings and in conversation that happened for all of agriculture to be deemed essential, particularly things that would not have otherwise been thought of: nurseries, greenhouses, livestock. But that didn't happen in March and April of 2020. That happened all along the way as Farm Bureau has built those relationships. It's critical to the future, particularly now. It's like when I taught school, it took me about a week to figure out which of the students' parents I was going to have to call with bad news. So I learned early on to communicate early and often and to build that relationship with good news. So when I had to call for something difficult, it was an easier phone call to make and they received it better. So Adopt a Legislator is critical, and it helped us in COVID have food on our shelves. So, gratitude for Farm Bureau. My list gets longer and longer and longer, and I will not spend too much time on that, but I want to say thank you as members for coming here this weekend. I know you traveled. I know there's been a lot of things to get you here, so thank you for coming here, first of all. Thank you for being part of this organization, for choosing that. Thank you to the people who are going to Washington and Springfield and speaking on our behalf, because if I went, it wouldn't go very well. There might be some speech bubbles that actually erupted, and I probably would not be welcome there. So thank you for doing that. It matters to us. After last night's presentation and watching all this, I want to say thank you to the media department of Illinois Farm Bureau. Holy cow, amazing stuff. Yes, you should clap about that. Yes. So my gratitude grows, and I encourage you while you are here this weekend at this meeting, look at the faces and the eyes and the smiles of those members. It matters. And we're proud of that. So thank you for being a member. So I've been honest so far, and I'm going to keep being honest. And I'm going to tell you that I am a buck up, tough girl, move on and get it done kind of person. Some of you in the audience know that, and you're chuckling. Here's how I knew that. I was about 10 years old when I remember I was outside and I was trimming bushes with this little handheld trimmers. And it was hot. I mean, it was really hot and I was sweating. And I remember the moment this little drip of sweat came off my nose and I thought, I've arrived. I am a hard worker. Because see, my dad was sweating all the time. And I was always so envious that he had this little sweat on the end of his nose, because I thought, he's a hard worker. And I knew I had arrived when that happened, and he would be so proud. So I was raised to be a tough girl. Face the adversity, process that, and move right on. And I did. Until I didn't. And the reality is, I didn't even know that I wasn't. I knew that some days I was very tired. And I knew that some mornings I couldn't get out of bed. And I knew some nights I didn't sleep. And I lost about 15 pounds, which, I'm not going to lie about, that was perfect timing because I looked amazing in my dress for my son's wedding. But most days it felt like walking through peanut butter.
but I still functioned and I still did my job. I ignored a lot. Fear, anxiety, depression, headaches. I had a bellyache most days. I probably drank way too much wine. Until I got a phone call from a friend. We had had lunch, and they hadn't seen me in almost a year. And about 3 days afterwards, they called and said, "You know, Cheryl, this is probably none of our business, but we're concerned. You don't look the same. The spark is out of your eyes. We're worried." And about 3 weeks later, I was having a conversation with another friend, and I realized in the middle of that conversation, I really couldn't focus, and I knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. My body was keeping the score, and I needed help. And that's when I got scared and embarrassed and very ashamed. Because here's the deal. I'm a buck-up girl and get it done. My friends and family saw me as strong. I'm not the weak one. I'm the person they come to ask for help. I'm the person who does that with them and for them. So I did what I had been continuing to do. I denied, ignored it. But there came a point where I knew I needed to say something, but I didn't even know how. I didn't know what I needed. I just knew I didn't feel right. I knew that I was hurting, and so it took me months to say something. And here's the thing, I thought I was protecting my family and friends. I didn't want to burden them with my struggle. I mean, what were they going to do with that, right? So I didn't say anything. And when I finally did, of course they supported me. Of course they wanted to fix it. Of course they wanted to simplify it and say, just do this. And in that moment I knew, to me it was not simple. I needed someone to help me. And I thought about our lives and the fact that there are stressors all the time and they come and go and you know, we manage them, and then sometimes we just don't. And the other component of that for me was, why would I not think about seeking professional help in that part of my life when I do that with my car and my house and your farms and all of the things? We have professionals that help us. But yet for some reason, I would not do that for myself. So I did. I finally called a counselor and I said, I need to talk to somebody who understands trauma and depression and anxiety and hurt and all that I'm going through. I learned tools and resources that I can use now. And it was this moment of, whoa, I'm the most important commodity I have. You are the most important commodity you have. I wasn't being there for my family or my friends. I wasn't present. So I learned in this that admitting that and going through it isn't weakness. In fact, it's strength. It's strength beyond strength. And so in front of an entire room and people online, I'm here to say to you that I have changed my mind about mental health struggle. It is real. I've lived it. And I will tell you, as a buck up and move on tough girl, I would never have admitted that. I would say, what is the matter? Just do it. So, 18 short months ago, I was in a very deep, dark place. And some friends reached out and had some courage to ask me the question. So I'm going to ask you, agriculture family, what are we doing about the struggle that is real?
Who has come to mind while we are sitting here that you should pick up the phone and say, hey, you're not yourself. The light's gone out of your eyes. Do you want to talk? So I want to leave you with two questions. The first one is, what is the worst that can happen if you don't, and if we don't? It's already happening. The statistics are staggering for our industry. And you may already have lost someone. Drinking, depression, anxiety, family issues, suicide, all of it. Folks, it's real. So what is the worst that can happen? It's happening. But what is the best that can happen? You give someone the gift that my friends gave me. And I will tell you, I am stronger and truly joyful in every single aspect of my life than I've ever been. So what seeds will you plant in the lives of the agriculture family that we have? In Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, it says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest." Keep that in mind as you think about the person you're going to call this week. So I'm going to wrap up with a few stories, if I may. Actually, I want to tell you about 4 lessons that I've learned in my life. Now you're thinking, she's only learned 4? Mom and Dad might think I've had to learn the same one over and over and over again. I'm not going to deny that's not true. So I'm going to leave you with 4 lessons that I've learned in life, okay? The first one is this. Truck drivers are the nicest people. They are. Now, here's how I learned this lesson, okay? So I'm a dairy farmer's daughter, and we didn't get the traditional go to the pool in the summer and get your suntan. We had to be creative about that. It was very important still to have a suntan because you look better that way. So I would request to drive the disc. I was disking, open air tractor, not those cab fancy things that had any air or any of that stuff. And I wanted to be out in the open, not by the timber line, because there were lots of bugs and stuff. And, you know, the sun just, I don't know, wasn't as bright. I don't know. So here's how it works, okay? So first of all, you have to think about what you're going to wear. So you need to wear shorts, because you don't want a farmer's tan. So you got to have some shorts on. And then, well, let's just be honest, you wear a bikini top because you want as much sun exposure as possible. And by the way, there's no sunscreen involved, and maybe baby oil, but that collects the dirt, so that's bad. Okay? So I'm on the tractor. I'm probably 13 years old, maybe. And, okay, so you got to have your arms out a certain way because you want to get exposure. So you sort of have to figure out how the sun is, and you're driving like this, and then you sort of flip, and there's a whole process involved with that, okay? And then there's the leg thing, because if you just sit, then there's farmer's tan. So I'm gonna have to hold the podium. So you sort of have to put your foot up on the fender or what you can put it on, and then you have to flip it, okay, as you're driving, but you got to make sure the sun is showing the right way, okay? So this is an entire process, really this is, every year. So at lunch that day, I came in and I was telling my dad how nice the truckers were. They were so friendly. All of them honked. And my dad is going, Cheryl? I said, what? Now, I was 13 or 14. So he sort of explained it to me. And to this day, laughs his ass off every time he tells the story. So my lesson number 1, truck drivers are very nice people. My lesson number 2, always carry an extra pair of shoes. Here's how I learned that. Several years ago, maybe 4 or 5, I was in the little town of Cornell, Illinois, in Livingston County. And I was presenting to a group of people, and I was dressed in a cute little dress with polka dots, and I had really cute shoes on. Comfortable and cute. And for any of you who understand, that's there can be cute, but they're like sitting shoes.
These were comfortable and cute. Important part of the story, okay? So I'm presenting, and at the end of the presentation, we're standing around kind of chattering, and people are talking, and this gentleman walks up to me and says, "Give me your shoes." Now, I've been a lot of places, and people have never demanded my shoes or clothes, any of that, nothing. He says, "Give me your shoes." And I'm thinking, dude, these are really comfortable and cute. Am I going to get them back? I didn't say a word. And then he says to me, "If you believe what you just told us, and you're not just blowing smoke because it's a presentation that you're giving, you'll give me your shoes." And in that moment I went, ooh, integrity or shoes? I did have to honestly think about it. So I gave him my shoes. And I'm looking at the two women who booked me thinking, I can't walk out of here barefoot. So we are talking some more. I finally get my shoes back and we wrap up the evening, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm in the clear, right? I walk out, I'm getting ready to walk out, and there stands Joe with his arm out, and he says, "Young lady, come with me. We're going to get you some shoes." Now, let's aside for a second. I'm a single woman with a strange man in a very small town with a truck who says there's a shoe fence at the end of town, and it's friendship fence, and you leave a pair of shoes and you get a pair of shoes. So I look at the two women and I said, "Is this safe? Like, should I really get in a truck with a stranger?" And oh, he's harmless. So I'm all about adventure. I get in the truck. And we, by golly, drive out to the end of town, and there's a shoe fence. If you've not been there, you should go. And there's some handbags, and now I understand there's some coffee cups on the side too, so there's some additional things that you can get for yourself. But there's hundreds of shoes on this fence. And so the deal is that you leave a pair of shoes. It's a friendship kind of thing. And so we're driving, and he was very gentlemanly, and he parked in the ditch. I'm in heels. I mean, he was very helpful, had a flashlight because it's dark. And he's saying, "What kind of shoes are you looking for?" And I'm thinking, whatever's not on that fence. So I'm scouting, and I'm thinking, there's nothing red, and there are no pumps. So I said, "I'm looking for a pair of red pumps," and I'm a 9.5. We didn't find any shoes. And he said, he said, "You'll just have to come back." And I thought, yes, I sure will. And I said, "Joe, I will always have a pair of shoes with me." And I do. Today I have 2 pairs, just in case. Now, the end of that story is that a week later at my office, I got a pair of red pumps in my size from Payless Shoes, which might transfer from the lesson I learned in lesson number 1, by the way. Some of you took a minute to get that. That's okay. My lesson number 3. Extend an invitation. Extend an invitation into our agriculture world. You see, we are special. This is a community that is unique and special. And people who are not a part of it don't get it, but they want to. It's sort of magnetic. Extend an invitation and invite people in. I had the opportunity this last year to invite and extend 2 invitations. One was to a young girl named Cameron. I'd known her parents for a long time, and we were chatting, and they said she wants to go into agriculture, but they don't have ag background. She doesn't know what's out there. So I called her and I said, "Let's have coffee." So we talked, and I set her up with an ag retailer, and she got to ride in a sprayer and see tractors, and then there was grain. Introduced her to somebody in the grain merchandising area, and ag in the classroom, and all those things to expose her to some options that she didn't even know. And she's going to go into agriculture when she graduates in May. And my second invitation was to this motley group of 6th graders. I taught a homeschool group. They were called the Little Homies. There were 11 of them, 10 boys, One girl, I think I do have a seat next to Jesus for that. And we went to the farm, to Mom and Dad's farm in the spring, and we had, lessons set up. This was going to be academic, a field trip or whatever. When we get there, my dad said, "Oh, just let them run." They found 7 kittens that nobody had found. They chased the chickens. They put their hand in a cow's mouth all the way up to their elbow. They raced up the piles of corn. They just experienced what we experience and take for granted every day. Extend an invitation to people. Invite them in. That builds that relationship and deepens the trust. And my last lesson is that seeds and weeds grow in the same soil. And sometimes you're the seed, and sometimes you're the weed. And sometimes we don't even know that we're the weed. Now, I don't like Vegas, I don't like gambling at all, but I will say, I bet I could lay money, hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table right now, and say that no one in this room or listening has ever called their seed guy and said, "Hey, in 2022, I want to plant the biggest, best weeds out there. I want the best. I want them better than Prupp's next door. I want them better than Henry's down the street. I want them to be the highest yielding weeds you could ever get me." We don't do that. We plant our seeds of family and friends and our crops with intention. But have you ever noticed that the weeds still come? And sometimes you don't even notice them, and then the next day you're like 3 feet tall. How did that happen? Explain that to me. So here's what we have to do. We have to keep our eyes on the weeds that grow up among the seeds. They're going to happen. I know I can be the weed because I have an opinion, and when I get going, I can grow pretty tall as a weed, and I can get lots of other weeds around me, and I can get them rolling, and I can get them thinking differently. I caution us in this time where this transition is hard. Remember that Farm Bureau is about the unified voice. It's not about my opinion and what I think is right on either side of the aisle. It is not that at all. But we do coexist together. We do. And many times when we think about the legacy or the founding fathers of Illinois Farm Bureau, they planted this organization with intention. They thought about it, the policy book, all of those things. And many times we can feel like we're losing those people who started it. And when we feel like we're losing something, we hold on tighter. I did that with my kids. But what if we flip the script? And what if we thought about, instead of losing something, we have new possibilities in front of us. And we have new opportunities and limitless thinking to make these roots that have been started grow even deeper and stronger so we can withstand what's coming. What if we flip that? It has been my true honor and privilege to speak to you this morning, and it is an honor to be an Illinois Farm Bureau member. I hope that as we celebrate the tradition and we embrace the transition, we do so with jump up and down, inexcusable, laugh out loud, giddy with joy. Because here's what I know. This organization
what we do, and who we are matters way beyond this room and way beyond this organization. Thank you, and let's have a powerful rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for that powerful message. And what a great